Let the phone keep ringing every day. La 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 la. Wondering if I should get the stone out on these and just... Oh gosh. So I'm just going to stone these back and see what... This is WD-40 I'm using on this. I'm just going to stone these back and see whether or not I can do something with them. Yeah, definitely hardened at the end anyway, so that's good. I'm just hoping they're not just case hardened. I don't actually know. What I want to do is just take them back down to a mean level. Just take that ring out. I'm just rocking, feeling the profile of the actual shape of the tip of the rocker, just working that profile. I'm also trying to be conscientious of keeping the angle. Doing the angle by hand is almost impossible to get right. However, I am going to adjust that by eye towards the end. I'm trying to get the height of the wear out of it, bring it back to a nice even surface. Right, I'm working both directions now. Before I was just dragging it. I've got my knuckle and my finger against the side of the stone to try not to touch. So I don't want to touch the side of the casing if I can help it. Yeah, that's coming out now. Very slowly it's coming out. This is the coarse side of this stone. This is an India oil stone. It's an old one. It could do with being reprofiled, so it's probably not flat anymore, but the edges are good enough for this small sort of surface contact. Just work, nothing else to it really. Get into a zone in your head. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Trying to get teenagers to do this nowadays. Repeating something seems to be a challenge. They haven't got an iPhone in their ears or a video in the background. They don't seem to be able to do it, which isn't really fair, but I find that sad. A lot of people can't do things anymore. Just painting a wall, crikey, I mean, it's paint up, down, follow the grain of the wood if you're painting wood. Whistle a tune maybe. Now I appreciate the angle that I'm working this is incorrect for the action, but I will give it that final polish in the direction it works with the thumb and a bit of paper later. I just want to get the majority of the metal. See, that's starting to come out now. I'm starting to lose that pit. I'll just get a bit of WD up there just to clean all that rubbish up. I need to recharge my refillable bottles, both with WD and brake cleaner. I'll do that in a minute, I think. Yep, it's coming out. Well, I'm just bringing you back just to show you where I've got to with these. As you can see, before I had lots of seriously aggressive wear in them, and I've just basically polished them back to a sort of near mirror finish. I could go to town and really go for it, but for all intents and purposes, this is good enough for this. As for the angle upon which they're worked at, I haven't really worked that out yet, to be fair. I mean, doing it by hand isn't going to guarantee the most incredible. Well, some of these are a bit higher anyway. I mean, they appear to have a leading edge, which will help them rotate slightly. Well, I'll check the book in a sec, have a look and see if I've missed anything I shouldn't have done. I'm going to check all the balls are nice and smooth, they all feel good. I'm not going to go too much on those. I don't like polishing things back and reducing material where it doesn't need to be. But apart from taking the rust and just giving the bottom of these brackets a little polish, this will do for now, I think, for the rocker shaft and the assembly. As I say, now it's just a noisy, grotty job of wire brushing everything, but I'll do a bit of filming for that, just for the sake of it. Okay, bring it back in. Okay, I'll best turn that radio off. I'll get YouTube license restriction kicking in, no doubt. Well, there's the rocker shaft. Rockers all back in. I've just put a bit WD on the bearings for now, just to pre-lube them, stop them from grinding up. I'll stick some engine on it when I've 5 minutes. I've cleaned those up, wire brushed them on the wire bench grinder, just to the brackets, that is, just to clean up any rust up. Yeah, but as we can see, those faces are much nicer than they were, and they should work and operate with least resistance as possible. The whole point of lubrication is to reduce friction completely. A perfect friction-free engine would be a desire, obviously, but that's not what we've got here. So, okay, the next bit now, so I'm just going to go and get myself a mask, because I'm in a confined space and don't want that crap in my lungs, because I get a bit silly sometimes and forget to put a mask on, and it's not good for your lungs. Kids, wear PPE, it's important. It's cool, yeah? Anyway. Alright, just getting set up here, so I've put on my leather apron because this wire brush is going to flick God knows what up my face. Got a clean jar here, well, aluminium can, just to stick all the wire brush stuff off. All I'm doing is taking all the fixings and just wire brushing them back clean, take any scale off or any rubbish or any rust or any paint. I like things to be clean, and like this one here. I might just replace that. I'm not sure what that's for actually. Oh yeah, that's an old bolt, but yeah, I'll clean them up and then decide what to do. I've got a whole range of imperial metric fittings in the van. So anyway, enough of me waffling. Let's do something. Got my full face mask. Which is probably not that good because I've got a beard. But I am not your father. Anyway. La, 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 la. So we're about to have another lockdown in this country. I think it's next Thursday, which is just great. Not everyone in the UK is not happy about that. And as per usual, the information from the government is as clear as a sailor on imported rum wearing welding goggles, being told to head in the direction of the shore. Yeah, is that even a thing? Probably. It just makes no sense. I don't pretend to be a man that understands bacteria and viruses and stuff, but COVID is so prolific and so deadly and so out there and getting everyone. Then how come we've had a bug in the house the last couple of days, a snotty one, you know, wet cough, that sort of stuff, and it hasn't seemed to bother anybody, and yet COVID hasn't got to us. We don't go anywhere. We're indoor people. We don't really go out. Well, we're not indoor people. We don't go anywhere. We're not into supermarkets and shops. We're sort of mind your squints. Huh. Looks like these hills actually penetrate there. Oh, that's interesting. Somebody drilled that hole too deep back in the day. No, they just open drilled through. So they're not bottomed out. Go broke on that, could we? Okay. So these studs are basically just to hold the manifolds on. You've got the exhaust manifold and the intake manifold, and they're on the same size as the head, so and like I say, I just like a clean thread. I don't like having to play with lots of carbon and other such nasties. Boo-doo-boo-boo-doo. Shoot-a-boo. I've given all the passageways a good clean out with my wire brush attachments. I've gone down into the valve ports as well, both sides, and the intake and out side of the ports. I've got the these smaller ones as well. These are great. These are actually. I should get my die grinder in it, but this is my drill. My drill seems to get in there nicely. Get right in there, good clean out. Degrease with the degreasing parts degreaser. It really was using a lot of oil down the valve stems, which was a bit unsettling to see, but there we are. It does happen from time to time. We're not quite there yet. Do 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 do. Oh, it feels tight. I don't want to go any further than that because I don't think that's where the thread needs to be. I think it only just needs to be shallow. But there are through-hole thread on these. They're going actually into these ports here, which are for the head studs, which are still in the bottom part of the engine. But I don't really want to trace through because the head studs aren't really meant to go through that far, I'd say. I don't want to foul on the studs. Right. I want to try and find my reamer. I don't know where I put them. I had a big sort out in my van recently and I seem to have put my reamers somewhere. I don't want to have to order a new reamer. It's going to annoy me if I have to do that, but needs must and all that, so watch your eyes! Okay, mind your ears. Save you from the yeah, look at that, look. Just screws in nicely, no effort at all. But I'm not going to do that just yet because I actually want to give this a bit of a treatment. I think I've already done this actually. Nah, that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that space at all. I've already cleaned it. It's just needs a white soft cloth. Right, I must go and find my reamers. I don't know what I've done with those. Possibly an excuse to buy more tools, but still, not the best practice. Okay, that's satisfying. And that one was cut slightly wonky. Or is it the stud's bent slightly? Yeah, the stud's got a slight bend to it. That's not good. Let's find a nut and straighten it slightly. That's good. That's good. It's nice and straight. That's good stuff. Right. Okay, that'll do. Let me go and find my reamer. I need to ream out the valve guides because they have distorted ever so slightly. They're not. I could probably round that in, but that wouldn't be the right way of doing things. There needs to be an ever so slight clearance anyway, just to ensure that the valves run up and down properly, and when the engine gets up to temperature they don't suddenly clamp on, because material expands when it heats up, and if the guide clamps onto the valve it'll get stuck and the piston will smash into it, and that'll be the end of the engine. Or, well, the end of the valve anyway. Okie dokie. So, to save you from repetitive, boring stuff, and if you like repetitive then please tell me, but otherwise... So what I've been doing with this head is removing all the old valve guides and the valves and stuff because they were shot. Here's some old valve guides. I think most of the wear was on the valves to be fair, but some of them have been chewing up inside and yeah, they weren't great to be honest with you. I mean, I have seen worse by any measure. So there's your new guide, shiny, new valves over on the bench which I haven't got them out yet, and I've just made a tool, a pilot tool for guiding these guides in. Actually, it's an old valve stem. I cut the end off and weld the tip of an old valve guide in, and that just stops the guide collapsing on itself. I mean, I need to remount the inner diameter anyway, so what you do is just locate it in there. Now this is a fly press, so it's not hydraulic, it's an old mechanical one. What I've done, just get that started out and I'll explain. I've second. Right, so the weight's on that, that's safe for a minute. So, yeah. I'll just take up here quickly. At the top of this fly press, this stop, and it just threads up and down. You decide where you want this to be used. So what you need to do is have the valve guides come up or down at a certain height. And in the book it says, the imperial eludes me in a minute. I'll put a picture up on the side, but metric is like 14 point something and below, and there's a limit within height and depth. So I've set it just below. I think it's just below 15 mil effectively. So I'm using the stop up here as a means to work out that they're all going to be in about the same sort of range, basically. Clicking back on here, using my magnetic holder for an old dial gauge. Right, so basically, as you can see, I'm just working it in. So I had to turn the audio off for this next clip because of YouTube's licensing agreement. So basically, I've pressed in the guide as you saw before. The next step just before this one was actually just to ream the hole, make sure that the guide is a nice true hole. So basically, this is a valve seat cutting tool. There's an expandable pilot in the valve guide. I'm just blowing out any swarf from the cutting process. It's quite a lengthy process. This, you put the guide in, you put the cutter in, cut the seat, put the valve in with some Sharpie ink or some blue dye on the valve to see whether or not the seat and the valve are actually meeting. This back and forth process will show us where the ink's rubbed off. This is after a bit more work, so not instantly, but that nice clear band or silver band shows that there's no ink anymore, and it was starting to get a good face and valve meeting. Lapping is the next step after that to make sure that everything's nice and married up, basically. So there I'm working on the next valve, and expander reamer goes in, little tap of the soft end of the hammer, not too hard, just enough to make sure it's expanded correctly into the guide. Don't want that wiggling around, because the minuscule amount of movement will cause problems. There are far more precision machines that can do this, like a Surdy, but I don't have a Surdy, so I'm very much a hands-on engineer. Right, so if you can see the grey band here that I'm tapping my finger, it goes all the way around the diameter. That is beautiful, lovely, lovely band. So when that goes into the guide and then down onto the seat, that's sitting in there, creating a nice concentric seal. We've got the full workings of that valve doing its job. I was just checking something, making sure I'm not being foolish with the positions of stuff. Right. Turn that. Gonna try and hold it in a weird position. Not a lot of talking this time. I'm in a funny mood today. Don't feel like talking too much. I just want to do stuff. Some of you may be saying, my God, why has he got an angle grinder on top of that head? It's a wire brush attachment, so I appreciate it's catching every so often, because it's not the one I normally use, but it's still doing the job properly. Normally I like to take all these studs out, but some of them, they just won't budge. I don't want to risk damaging them or shearing them off and having a bigger problem in my hand. I got 2 out, which gave me good access with the head of the wire brush attachment. So I started scraping it with a Stanley blade just to lift off anything that was kind of on the surface, like a bit of old gasket, which you probably saw. But a soft wire brush on a grinder, I find on a cast iron block, does a lovely job. You've got to be very careful near the edges, you don't lift it up, and you definitely cannot do that on an aluminium engine head. And that's the reason why the pistons here are recessed down in the block. You'd use a wire brush on that, it's aluminium, it's too soft, it will damage them. So it's just a nice surefire way of getting this right back down to the truest surface it can without actually reducing the material, the steel itself. And to feel, it's absolutely gorgeous. I just grab myself the truest edge I've got, just to try and set you up down there so you can see what I'm on about. This is a technique I've used many times. I'm sure there's millions of ways of skinning a cat and all that, but to be honest with you, this one works very well for me. So just put that on here and just check in for the touching points of the, so look where the rule is actually contacting the face of the head, and you'll see that it just creates a really nice finish. So today's going to be a game of cat and mouse. I've got 2 hours at a time on a parking meter. King's Cross in London is a pain, a pig to do a job for someone. You've got to keep moving the damn van. It's just like anyway, we must progress. So that's now clean and where I want it to be for the initial minute. I've got to drain off the cooling fluid from the cooling tank. So the cooling tank on this system is basically down the back here, so it's sort of comes this way under my foot, across the back, and then there, and then there's a nipple each end. So it is arguably a proper keel cooling tank. How effective it is, I'm not sure yet. With less crud in there, that should probably be the case. So well, we can drain out the fluid and put fresh antifreeze in it today as part of the job. So let's get cracking with that. Yeah, something like that would be work, I'm sure. We have the means, I'm sure. So that just sits there now, nice and easy. Okay, right, so I've got a box of things, let's get them on. Oh dear. These are your push rods that work on the rockers off the camshaft. Getting there. Just finishing the cooling system now, and I'll give it a test start and see what happens. It's very thirsty though. It's getting late too, so I'm trying to get this done with before it gets too late to run engines. I put lots of concentrated antifreeze in. I'm just topping up with water. I'm trying to get the ratios correct. something? Right, let's give it a whirl. Oh, hang on. There's something to do, isn't there? Bad start so far. Running on all running on all cylinders by the sounds of it. Give it a little bleed up again, that's too good. Torch on. Get to the point where my head torch is starting to flash at me because it's getting late. Let's just check everything's bleeding up. I don't think it's running on all four there. It didn't sound like it to me. Yeah, okay, torch, I know it's late. A bit of throttle clearly, so it needs to be adjusted. To the blockers now, so that's good. there's quite a squeak coming from something, so I want to find out what that might be. Not sure why it's squeaking. That squeak needs to go, that's for sure. May just be the alternator. I'm just slacking the belt off a little bit. See if that calms it down. Don't believe I've got it too tight, but it might just be a tad over. I am quite strong. That'll eliminate any issues if that is it anyway. Right, let's try that. Still feels good. Okay. Hand tight, just hand tight. Hand over ear intake, never a good idea.